as I said, I think that investing in the intangible economy and the impact economy is a crucial issue for rethinking society and then solving social problems. But of course, at the center of the stage, the crucial thing that is still a matter of unfinished business is the measurement issue, impact measurement issue. I think Karl is the right person to ask about that.
Thank you, Mario. That's really a big challenge. I mean, one of the interesting journeys of exploration that I went on recently was working with the United Nations Development Programme. And there you've got an organization that has been working specifically to create positive impact for decades and has got very, very refined ways of measuring the effectiveness of deploying capital in that context. And on the other hand, you've got the private sector and social enterprises and maybe a whole different group of organizations talking about impact management in a different way, talking about effectiveness, talking about how stakeholders experience outcomes and the relevance and importance for them. And it realized that actually people were potentially, it seemed like people were talking about almost totally different things. And in investigating that a little bit more, what we found was actually there is a convergence around a few things. And what we found was when you peeled away how people describe the process, although they were using different words often, it ultimately ended up being a very similar process, almost the same process, and you can map it to the Deming quality management cycle. And that I thought was really interesting because it means that you have a way to take the impact management process and integrate it into the core processes of almost any business, and so therefore it can really be an extension of that core mission and the core aims and purpose of an organization, and less intimidating because it's not this foreign thing from the outside. And the other crucial aspect that became apparent in that mega mapping exercise was the differentiation between how people interpreted what impact is and how that translates into how they want to manage and measure it. And you've got everything from a very light touch approach maybe on the side, which might be something we more often observe in mainstream finance, where it might be looking at how do we screen out the negatives, how do we avoid doing harm, how do we then maybe ramp up the intensity towards targeting responsible investments and responsible companies, all the way to what I refer to as the impact enthusiasts, the people who really focus on that as the primary objective and saying it's not just a matter of what we your point about intentionality and measurability is absolutely right, but it goes beyond that as well. It's about saying what about the unintended consequences, and how do we also think about that and the effects on the stakeholders who are outside that initial orbit. And by orientating it on that spectrum, you end up with giving people a way to codify their position that's appropriate to their, let's say, institutional mandate.
Exactly. And let me stress 2 points about what Karl said. The first one is the importance of giving the right things the right names. Because my fear is that if we end up that everything is impact, nothing is impact. And so we will completely miss the transformational power of the impact movement. The other thing is the broad scope with which you need to look at impact organizations, including social enterprises and for-profit enterprises, because of course we are in the very middle of a huge transformation. And my guess is that there is a new economic entity called the social venture that is a hybrid product between the DNA of social enterprises and the DNA of for-profit with purpose enterprises.